Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. I am Jamie Beth. Today we're going to talk about haunted libraries, and we're going to talk about some haunted libraries within the US and then haunted libraries that are around the world. So we do have a few libraries to go through, and I'm going to just jump right in. The first library we're going to talk about is the Willard Library in Evansville, Indiana. And I first found out about this library because there's actually a ghost cam in the library. So you can go onto Willard Library's website and there's a ghost cam where they have a couple cameras in a couple different rooms that you can see if you can find the Gray Lady. Built and stocked in the 1800s, the Willard is Indiana's oldest public library. Though a library card is required for checking out the Willard's books, there is one visitor who doesn't obey the rules: the Gray Lady. Spotted first in 1937 and more than 1,000 times since, the veiled apparition floats quietly through the stacks, shifting tomes and leaving a musky aroma in her wake. Moving along to the Peoria Library in Peoria, Illinois. Not even a religion book can save a library that has been built on cursed ground. Legend has it that a woman named Mrs. Andrew Gray lost her home to foreclosure in 1830, then doomed the property, which would become the site of the Peoria Public Library. After the building's construction, the first 3 directors all mysteriously died. Strange things continue to happen each day in this library. The current librarians claim that when they are alone in the stacks, the temperature drops and they hear their names whispered from beyond. Next on our list is the Pattee Library in Penn State University. Several nooks and crannies of Penn State University are said to be haunted. The Schwab Auditorium, Watts Hall, and then most notably, the Pattee Library. Students have reported seeing a pair of glowing red eyes, some ghosts bookmarking a few favorites, and book carts moving all on their own. The creepiest story, however, is based on a real event. In 1969, a student by the name of Betsy Aardsma was stabbed to death while studying at the library over Thanksgiving break. It's said that she was wearing a crimson dress at the time, and now students can hear her nighttime screams from the basement below. Moving along to the Blanche Skiff Rose Memorial Library in Nevada, Missouri. Located on the Pattee College for Women's campus, this library stands over what used to be the Murry Sanatorium and the site of several deaths. One belonged to music student Vera Netzert, who died there after a candy making accident left her with severe burns. But she isn't the only spirit roaming the library and campus. There's also a man in a smoking jacket who lurks in the balcony and seems to like the company of the Victorian ghost girls who play on the stairs. Moving along to Parmly Billings Library in Billings, Montana. Parmly's paranormal ghosts have a playground that consists of 6 floors and a basement. There's a 6-foot tall entity that has called dibs on the kitchen and lounge areas, and a brunette who floats around the 3rd floor, and an intense woman who shares the basement with a gray blob of a ghost. No one really knows why the library is home to so many ghosts, but we suppose even the deceased love to lose themselves in a good story. The Saline County Library in Benton, Arkansas is next. Set up in the old Palace Theater from 1967 to 2003, the Saline County Library inherited the theater's ghostly inhabitants. Librarians have reported hearing phantom footsteps, seeing objects move by themselves, and recognizing a faint click of an old typewriter. Even though there isn't a single archaic machine to be found on the grounds, they can hear this typewriter. The library has since moved on to another location. However, we have to wonder if it took any floating stowaways with it. Moving along to the Murry and Leonie Guggenheim Memorial Library in West Long Branch, New Jersey. Designed by the same team behind the New York Public Library, this library lives on the campus at Monmouth University. What used to be a summer home for Murray and his wife, Leonie, is now a studious haunt complete with a ghostly lady in white who haunts until the clock strikes midnight to make her way down the staircase. Because why not have another story about a lady in white? Moving along to the Houston Public Library in Houston, Texas. Though the building is cuddled next to the immaculate courtyards and boasts an impressive Spanish Renaissance style architecture, there are spooky things hidden within its walls. There's a ghost of a watchman who was found dead on site in 1936. There's also a violinist in the Tudor Gallery that roams the halls of the Julia Eidson building and plays its melodies when the mood strikes. So those were some libraries within the US. We're now going to move up to some libraries around the world that are considered extremely haunted. Moving along to Kimberley Africana Library in Kimberley, South Africa. Apparently, arsenic is the weapon of choice for library directors who later come back to haunt. As the first librarian of the Africana Library drank the poison after he was found to be doctoring his accounts. Visitors to the historic building have reported seeing the restless spirit pacing the walls, tingling teacups, and dropping books at odd hours. Moving along to the Grange Library at the Art Gallery of Toronto in Toronto, Canada. The Grange is a manor in downtown Toronto that is almost as old as the city itself. Being the 12th oldest surviving building in the Ontario city means that the history of the Grange all but guarantees a good ghost sighting or two. And indeed, there have been many such reportings over the years, with the most common one telling of a gentleman in a yellow velvet coat walking through walls where doors would have stood many years ago. The suggestion is that this man is the original butler of the Grange, who retired after 50 years of service by leaving a note stating, "Left dear old Grange at 1:00 p.m. and will be a wanderer." Perhaps he didn't actually leave to wander at all. Next up is the Morealia Public Library in Michoacan, Mexico. The Morealia Public Library is known for its rich history, stately beauty, and creepy ghosts. Dating back to the 17th century, the building was first known as the Temple of the Company of Jesus and was turned into a library in 1930. That didn't keep away those who wanted to keep company with Jesus, though, as for years library visitors have reported a nun dressed in blue paralyzing them momentarily with her ghostly presence. Moving along to the Rammerscales Mansion Library in Lockerbie, Scotland. The library of the historic Rammerscales Mansion is said to be haunted by its builder, James Mounsey. Though Scottish by birth, Mounsey enlisted in the Russian Navy in the early 18th century, but eventually fled home due to the political unrest in Russia and his fear that his closeness with Tsar Peter III would lose him his life. Even after holding up in the safety of his mansion, he never lost his fear and died a paranoid man in 1773. Since his death, his ghost is seen to haunt the entire home with a preference for roaming the library. Visitors have reported hearing loud noises like doors slamming and seeing a figure running up and down the halls. Students staying at the mansion during World War II were so frightened by the nightly visitor that they chose to sleep outside in the stables. The State Library of Victoria in Melbourne, Australia, dating back to 1854, there's no surprise that Melbourne's State Library has more than a few resident ghosts. The art section of the library is reportedly home to the ghost of a former librarian named Grace, said to be a more benevolent elderly spirit, she continues to keep an eye on the place and make sure that a more confronting specter who roams the southern end of the closed arts stack stays in his place. The music room is frequented by a nattily dressed ghost who is known to leave music books out of place after he is finished pursuing them. The ghost stories of the State Library are so numerous that many clairvoyants have been brought in, and Melbourne's haunted bookshop owner, Drew Stinton, is keen to get the building included in the city's tour of haunted locales. Last but not least is the Combermere Abbey Library in Shropshire, England. Perhaps the most famous haunted library of all is the one located in Combermere Abbey. Not necessarily famous for big scares or eerie origins, but because of a photograph that exists from days long ago before Photoshop. Taken in 1891, a picture shows a faint but recognizable male figure sitting in the left-hand chair. The extra spooky part is the second Lord Combermere had been struck by one of London's first motor cabs just a few days earlier, and his burial was taking place in the very moment that Lady Sybil Corbett took the photograph. 4 years later, paranormal researcher Sir William Barnett decided to look into the case by locking all the doors and setting up his camera in the library. When the photograph developed, he was astonished to find the same figure, looking shockingly like the departed Lord Combermere. When the photograph developed, he was astonished to find that the same figure, looking shockingly like Lord Combermere, sitting in the chair. So there is my list of haunted libraries throughout the US and the world, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and remember to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, as well as the notification bell next to it to be notified of all of my upcoming videos. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!